afternoon. And my sister Marilyn has been doing poetry for some time and with a group of people. That's okay. Come on in. And so I've been very proud of her for a long time. I find her poetry very exciting and interesting, and it's so great. And with her group of friends, they just came out with their new book, which we're selling inside the other room here in the jewelry shop called Quintet. And so there's poems from all of them that I'll be reading from today. We like doing these little simple things here at the gallery, and we hope to do more of them. So sign in on the mailing list, and we do these kind of sporadically, and only announcing them through a few emails and Facebook and word of mouth. So I'm glad y'all made it today. So let's see.
You're going to tell who we are.
Why don't you do the introduction?
I'm used to bossing him around. He takes it very well.
Was it? Okay.
I forget people's names. I'm Marilyn.
That's a good start.
This is not Julie Dudley. This is Mary Dudley. This is Oertel-Kirschner. This is Devin Reilly. More about him in a minute. And this is Julie Dudley. All right. So we're all going to be reading. And we have, yes, and Aanya is missing. She's the fifth part of our quintet, and she couldn't make it today. But we'll be reading some of her poems. And so we're going to start though with something that's a little different from what's in here. When this book came out, I was talking about it at my home, and my great nephew Devin was there, and he said, "Well, I write poems too." And I said, "Well." And I said, "Well, would you read one?" And he read me one of his hip-hop poems, in fact, more than one, and I really loved them. And so when I thought about doing this, and we talked about it, and Devin was over here, I said, "Would you like to read with us?" And he said he would. And so he's kind of our warm-up act. So he's agreed to come, and he's going to read 3 poems. You call them poems, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 3 poems. Devin Reilly.
This one's called Breaking Down. It was your last. Underneath the covers, the broken glass smothers your body, encompassing the warmth with the ice-like sharpness. Harmless, but not one scratch. And that was on the inside. A scar that never healed correctly. A sore on the heart that feels directly, with the mind and soul to indulge in feelings that whimper in the cold. The outside of the body lies pain, but on the inside lies stains, impurities, and lame excuses for imparities. No clarity, no dignity, cringing on the edge of collapsing, with a timid response to napping away a dream. Screams never shouted, the theme is frightened into the night. A mountain of stress is fight or flight, or neither as the glass hardened and turns to metal. And mentally, sentimentally, the gently induced memories rage steadily, onward to a stage never before reached. The mountain was too steep. The second one does not have a name. Accounting the happenings of the past, consequently reacting into the present that lacks the seconds that timidly respond into sections of the mind and beyond. The meadow's green and the mellow songs belong deep in the brain. The pictures refrain to maintain a clear image. A drowsy dream vintage in a scene veering away seems real, doesn't it? In the dark, sitting in the emptiness, apart and settled like sentiment. In the strange stuttering with a speech impediment, screams absolute silence, comes down to a silence, defiance to quit in a righteous alliance of dream fighters. Psychological fires burn down the brain. And then I have one last one. Give me a second to find it. Pick up the parts of broken hearts and throw them to the wind. This is where a new life begins. Sins cleaned with a new slate, a new fate that no one can take or fake. New beginnings generate positives and make life easier. Move on, because life can be crunchier than a crouton, or more inspiring than Mulan, or as colorful as a toucan, comfortable as a futon, and as fast as a neuron. So keep going, be who you can be, with the best intentions and priorities. Our paths are never orderly, ordinary, or the same. We are all different, that's how we are made. Accept the changes in our life, because what lies ahead you have to be ready for, right?
That's a great beginning. Well, I'm going to tell you that when we thought about this reading, we conceived of it as a piece of music, a composition, in 3 movements. And the first movement is going to begin with John reading one of our friend Anya's poems.
I've had the gallery for over 30 years and live with an artist and have a bunch of dear friends that are artists, and it's always amazing to me that, like clockwork, as perennial as the rye, these artists go through these periods of doubt, wondering whether they can actually be creative, or in Nancy's case, wondering if she's actually an artist, or if she's been a fraud all these years, and she has a blank canvas, and she just says, I just can't do it, I don't understand, I don't want to ruin the canvas. And I always tell her that I'm sure we could convict her in a court of law for being an artist, because there's just way too much evidence. But it happens often with my friends, and I have kind of a canned rap. I was sitting at my desk one day after Nancy had gone through one of these episodes in the morning, and she was sitting down to work. And Marilyn had just given me this book, and I was back in China, and I just picked this book up open, and it came to this poem of Anya's. And so I asked if I could read it today, because this was so meaningful to me. This is titled The Blank Page. It's so seductive and so alarming, this blank page. Can I claim importance without disturbing the clean white statement it makes? It is invitation or warning. Is it invitation or warning, this blank page? Both, I guess. So it keeps me hesitating, as if on a teeter-totter. Come on, it says. Then don't you dare. So there, I dared, and quickly turned the page.
Okay, greens return. A train crosses fields of fresh green on the same tracks that cross to Dachau. A road runs through the green fields of Antietam. Hiroshima is green again. The first sprout insisted on return. Weeks after that day, our human shadow melted onto concrete. Normandy Cemetery is a green wonder. Vietnam refused to give up its green. What should we make of green's insistence? What refusal to accept despair is this? I mean the despair before the killing. What lonely failure of hope leads to such disconnected killing? What doubt in men of power sacrifices hope's young blood before their own? What appeasement in women relinquishes the fruit of their wombs? Could it be, if humans won't, that the earth will reassert the green hope of great good, and so the tough and vulnerable blade of grass breaks concrete even in the heart and dares to grow love back? This one's called Dare It.
Actually, it was a takeoff. No, stay here. But this poem was actually a takeoff on something John said to me about putting my work first, or putting Nancy's work first, rather than cleaning the house. So,
So this is really an honor of you. Dare it. I'll wait just a second. Okay with this one? Yeah. Dare it. Oh, dare it, wait. what you said was very important to us. Derek, act like a man, he said to his wife when he meant take your own work seriously. A gem he is in the point taken, but conflict within nonetheless. Another woman, searching for the worst name she could call a woman, at last blurted out, you, woman, you. The word woman, her worst insult, to herself as well. So what is it in a woman that dares to make art, write a poem, compose music, or sculpt in steel? What doubt in her thinks dishes first, art second? What fiber within must she weave to claim her voice, not over but equal to relationship and necessary maintenance? Doesn't music, a sculpture, a painting, or a poem also mean love?
This is called irony. In the midst of an economic downturn and an upcoming presidential election, when things are unsettled and life feels askew, I have a yen to iron a white broadcloth shirt to smell the clean fabric, starch, and steam. My mother had a mangle in our basement and used to iron sheets, tablecloths, flour sacks, dish towels. She was skilled on the big roller with the heavy metal plate, even ironing shirts on it. First the back, then each side, then each sleeve and cuff, and finally the collar. The stacks of neatly folded linens gave respite to a life that included an alcoholic father, miscarriages, the vicissitudes of business, a social system that didn't fully admit her, despite her clean, well-decorated home, decent golf game, excellent martinis, and elegant dinner parties. She taught me how, when life disappointed or frightened, you did what you could. So today I set up the ironing board, heat the iron, take out the white wrinkled shirt, and begin.
This one is called Love Letters. We all keep them, even the men, sometimes for life. My friend in Santa Fe made me swear to destroy all her old ones if she dies first. Why doesn't she go ahead and do it now instead of keeping the yellowing packets with their rubber bands dried and crackling? How am I supposed to get there in time to do the deed before her husband finds them? My own are in a shoebox on the top shelf. I haven't looked at them for years, but they stay nestled there, accessible, if I should need them. When I cleared my father's papers, I found a letter written in a familiar hand. It began with a sweet endearment, darling, from the woman who would become my mother 4 years later. I understand why he kept that one. I never heard her say the word, darling.
A question. Is it enough to just be here in the eternal and fleeting now? I can't stop the war or end poverty, even though I may weep and care. I can't smell the fear in the field that only a soldier knows, or hold the mother with dry breasts, her baby starving in her arms. I can notice the ache in my own old knee, while I pray for those helping in Haiti, hoping such energy passes through time and space after all. I can wait and watch for the turtle in the garden, gone underground in the lessening light. I can plant the bulb for the chance of another bloom. I will eat the Christmas cookie that's too beautiful to eat. Still I wonder, is it enough to be grateful for the light reflected in a clear glass of water?
Watching the river from the bank. The Colorado River flows fast and high, carrying black and scraggly sticks loosened from flooded beaches. On the opposite bank, half-submerged light green willows protect filmy pink tamarisks from being taken downstream. I miss the river trips, the nervousness and excitement, the freedom to be the girl I always saw for myself, unafraid, comfortable in my skin, my body strong, alive. I was in the raft in the water in the river, flowing fast with a cold spring runoff, melted snow that had rushed down arroyos to join dark red water, blood flowing in my veins, feeling beautiful as the surroundings, as free as natural. The carefulness I cultivated, like a garden of orderly, old-fashioned flowers, did me no good in the wilderness. Once there were days of rain. Once it was so windy our tent blew down. One day, fluorescent blue dragonflies flew with the raft. One day, after 8 days in the sun, we rubbed mashed avocados left over from lunch into our dry top faces. We washed ourselves in the river, and in the rain watched rivulets run down canyon walls, joining with waterfalls, finding green ferns in rock outcroppings. The awe-inspiring power of the river told me who I might be, who I still might be. Yeah. And then I'm going to read one of Anya's, What Do You Want to Remember? What do you want to remember? Memory stains everything. Not one moment of now is free of then. A time when I lay in the grass, the long grass, and watched the ants busy at their gathering. The flavor of summer scented everything. My meadow moment. 2. The sound of memory is the sound of the sea, waves curling around my toes. The slushing and pounding of ocean calls me back and back again and again. Shh, shh, shh. 3. Can memory make a house, plant a tree, put in windows, paint and plaster, put on a porch, put on a shower out the back door, move a driveway, plant and plant some more? Will we never stop working on our old house? If we stop, will it all fall down? We have loved it, we have used it, decorated it with our things, with all our living, backyard barbecues, feast with friends. Now we are moving into other ways, Alaska and Singapore. What shall we do with the old house, with our memories and stars out the back door? The grandchildren are coming. Will they move into our memories? 4. Finally and originally, there is the tree behind the house. When I first saw it, it was the tree that spoke to me. The house itself was gray and dilapidated. I said, "Oh," when I saw the tree. Even in winter, it was mighty, a sycamore maple with 3 huge trunks grown together and wide spreading branches. I said, "Oh, if this house has that tree to watch over it, it will be good." And it has been. Through all these 40 years, the tree has stood. Lost a few branches in storms, then climbed down and admired. I put some of my mother's ashes at its root. When I leave the island, I leave with a prayer, "O mighty tree, live on."
Anya's What Do You Want to Remember makes me remember that we were going to acknowledge William Stafford, who asked that question in a poem of his, and we used it at one of our retreats as a prompt. In your book, if you look, there's a poem by Stafford that we asked permission to publish and were granted. It's called The Way It Is, and I was supposed to read it at the very beginning. So I'm going to read it now, in the middle of the second movement. Yeah. The way it is. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, You can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. Thank you, William Stafford. This poem of mine is called On the Open Sea in a Small Boat. Most of my life, I anchored in that cove we know as faith, but now I've come unmoored. If asked what I believe is true, I'd answer, I'm not sure. Cast adrift on the open sea in a small boat with enough provisions to last, I trust I have what I need. Directionless, without a compass, the boat goes where it will. If asked what guides my way, I'd answer, I don't know. Overhead, birds soar and swoop, diving for fish. Underneath, the whale glides deep. An octopus waits in the dark between rocks. I would like to see them. My boat and I are nothing more than a shadow over their heads. I fear hard storms, huge waves. The long nights can unnerve me without prayer. I watch the stars. I regard the moon. It is a miracle. I wait for dawn. There are no words for dawn. And rain is a gift. I captured in bottles that once held less holy waters. If asked how this began, I'd answer, I don't know. Sometimes there is music. The wind can be like a cello. Rain drops on the sea's surface like a flute. I hope for porpoises and pelicans and herons, great and blue. I hope for green, still water. I hope for clouds. I miss flowers. Is there some inlet where this boat will come to shore? Will I walk on sand again? I remember sand. It slides, shifts, and changes with the moons and the tides, with the wind. Or will I be afloat until my flesh feeds fish? My body sinks to the ocean's floor. My bones rest beside the octopus between the rocks, and my soul glows among the iridescent fish that light the dark, dark shadows.
This is the last poem in the second movement, and it's called What is Real? It's in 3 parts. 1. When we were kids, my neighbor and me, we claimed a wedge of grass between our houses and called it the Triangle, as though it were a famous territory belonging solely to us. Day after summer day, we lugged our lunches and set up camp for fantasy games, clover chains, and long afternoons with books on blankets. Decades later, I returned to see the site of such pleasure-filled days. I found a scratchy patch of weeds squeezed between 2 crumbling driveways, not room for much of anything, and stood there trying to reconcile what is real. Part 2. What we put on the walls wasn't real either, or was it? One summer we were trying to be poets in Duluth, Minnesota, writing long into the nights while lavishing beauty on ourselves. Persian rugs, grand pianos, Tiffany jewels, gardens of flowers. We cut them all from magazines and taped them to the walls, obsessed with the ease of having everything we wanted. Back home in Albuquerque, we'd recall that crazy time and become besotted all over again. We still had it fresh in our minds when real flowers would have died long ago. The jewels and rugs, who knows? And grand pianos, well, they're hard to truck around through a long life. 3. I climbed the slippery crack of Macadamima Canyon deep in the crevice of the Grand, grasping for footholds, missing, trying again, until I reached the rose rocks at the top and thought, I will hold this. I will hold the warmth of sun-soaked stone saturating my back as I spread myself flat. I will hold light flowing over me and filling my pores. I will hold the sound of water dribbling over sculpted sand. I will hold all of this in my mind and bring it out again when I need it. And now we begin the third movement, and I get to read the poem I love to read. Little change of tone. It's called Muerte. Death has never been as funny as it was in 1969, when my buddy Barbara and I drove south through the night to Guaymas, dreaming of hot sun on Mexican beaches, platters of fresh shrimp, and a cheap place to stay. We were freshly minted Wisconsin girls, striking out on our own in Santa Fe, where we scraped by with low-paying jobs and a heady sense of adventure. Barbara was 6 feet tall and lodgepole lean in her jeans and t-shirt. I had the wider hips and longer hair and fancied miniskirts. I still do. We left town after work on a Friday, making it well past midnight by the time we reached the border at Nogales, a bare concrete bunker of a place where Border Patrol asked for identification and checked the license on my old Chevy Impala. Then the officer turned to Barbara. Su esposa? He asks her, flicking his eyes towards me as he studies our papers. No, we exclaim in a panic, our freshly minted Spanish kicking in enough to realize he'd taken us for a married couple. No, we insist, determined to set things right. Es muerte, I say frantically, pointing to Barbara. Soy muerte, Barbara insists, pointing to her own chest. What we mean to say, of course, is mujer, to make them understand Barbara is a woman, not my husband. But Spanish fails us in the stress of the moment, and the border guards, well, surely, they must figure we're a couple of crazies to be insisting Barbara is dead. It is beyond their understanding. They let us proceed. We realize our error as we stumble out of the bunker and begin to convulse in laughter. We laugh as we steer south down the dark highway. We laugh as we plant ourselves on the beach in Guaymas. We laugh as we build our campfire to steam a mountain of shrimp. We still tell the story, laughing until the tears roll, though something rare and sharp punctuates our laughter now, many deaths later. Okay, and I'm going to read one of Anya's called Setting Forth. If I can find it. Setting Forth. Be packed and ready. Be brave and good-natured. Set out early in the morning. Welcome the weather, rain or sun, cloudy or clear. Leave home lightly. Breathe in the pinches and the possibilities.
Here's a poem of mine that also was prompted by William Stafford, Why I Am Happy. Those clouds spilling over pewter mountains mark cold air coming. Earth baked hard under summer sun sighs, washed by the afternoon rains. A cluster of crows, sleek feathers gleaming, surround the green dumpster, scavenging. Winter is behind those clouds, behind those mountains and the crows, and I have everything I need. And then this one is entitled To Jim at 70. It was a birthday poem. And it starts with a quote from Mary Oliver.